and here we are for a new reading lesson. We're going to be reading a story today and tomorrow. It's a really good story. I think you're going to like it. Before we get started, I want to look at some of the vocabulary words, some words that you're going to come across in your story. I think probably you know what all of these mean except maybe two. So let's look at these. The ones that I've underlined are the ones that are going to be in our story. And I've put them in a sentence to help you better understand what they mean. Dr. Lewis received money in the form of a grant to continue research of a fatal disease. A grant is when someone gives you money to perhaps go to college, perhaps pay for research. A lot of times it'll be to one single person, maybe a scientist. Sometimes it might be to a whole school or a whole hospital or something like that. So a grant is when someone grants you money. Here's one. She went to the barn to groom her horse before the state competition. I bet you know what this means. It means to brush off the horse and clean them up, make sure they're good and clean. Baby llamas are called crias. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Crias or crias. You know what I should do? Let me ask my Google phone and let me see what she says. Let's see. Let's look over here. Google, come on, help me out here. Let me look it up on my dictionary. That's what I'll do. I should have done that first, but this way maybe you can hear it too. I don't have a dictionary on here, do I? I got a new phone and I guess I didn't put it on there. That's okay. We'll just call it a crias. Okay, a baby llama is called a crias. Okay, a yearling animal is 1 year old. That's easy to remember because it has the word year in it. So a yearling is 1. Jake slipped the halter over the horse's head so it could be led to the pasture. I bet you know what a halter is. Goes over the horse's head. He lifted his chin indignantly after being falsely accused of cheating. This means like maybe if you were being falsely accused of doing something wrong, that means you didn't do it, but someone thinks that you did. It would make you kind of indignant. It would make you a little bit angry, right? Indignantly means kind of angry, right? I want to show you some pictures. What in the world? That is a skunk. They're kind of cute, but they smell bad, don't they? There's a family of them. They're awfully cute little creatures, but yeah, they smell pretty bad. Here's another one. Now what's that? Porcupine. More skunks. Kind of cute. Woo, look at the claws on that one. Wow. I'd hate to get in a scuffle with that one. Oh, wow. There's a good one of a porcupine. You know what these do, don't you? Yeah, they poke you. So, what does a skunk do when it gets scared? It sprays, right? A foul-smelling spray, right? And what does a porcupine do when he gets scared? He'll poke you with these things, won't he? And they're pokey. They're pokey. Well, why do you think they do those? Helps to keep them safe, right? It's a line of defense. It's a way to defend themselves, isn't it? Well, in the story we're going to read today, we're going to find out about another animal that has a very unique way of defending itself. So can you open your book for me, your reader book, to page 37. Now, this story, it's a two-part story. We're going to start it today and we'll finish it tomorrow. It's called An Emergency. You know what an emergency is. It's, oh goodness, something's happening. We got to figure this out right now. So this is from a book. You see the picture of the book there? It's from a book called Llamas on the Loose. I guess you can figure out what animal it is we're going to learn about. A llama. You're going to learn all kinds of stuff about a llama over the next few days. Llamas are pretty neat animals. So we're gonna find out about those. And this is part of a story. It's an excerpt that comes from a book called Llamas on the Loose. Now, can you look at the very top of page 37? I'm going to read that little section right up there. It says, a visit from one of Dad's old friends, Doc Erickson, sends Penny and her brother Jack on an adventure. After Dad agrees to let Penny and Jack work on Doc Erickson's unusual farm, strange things begin to happen. Doc Erickson teaches Penny and Jack about the curious animals they raise and teaches them to work hard. Beware of wild animals, Doc Erickson warns. If the dinner gong rings and the floodlights shine, be prepared for an emergency. All right, so what we're going to do on this story is I'm going to ask you a question, something I want you to listen for. Now, I'm going to read the story to you. But you have a job to do as well. As I read the story, you must follow along in your book, okay? It's very, very important. I don't want you to become a lazy reader. We don't like lazy readers. We want to be able to read. How in the world are you ever going to know what God's Word says for you to do if you don't read? So we have to read and learn to read, okay? So on page 37, do you see where it says The Great Escape? That's going to be the first section. Now you can make a bookmark if you'd like to and follow along with a bookmark, or you can use your finger, or you can just read. But the main thing is, don't watch me on the screen. Just listen and look at your book and follow along with me. It will help you become a much better reader, okay? And be prepared because I'm going to ask you questions. So the first thing is, I want you to listen and find out what kind of emergency this is, okay? That's the main thing I want you to listen to. All right, so here we go. We're going to read. Read along with me. Doc Erickson had to make our visit educational so he could qualify for a research grant. And during that week, he taught us a lot about the history of llamas in the U.S. We also learned how to groom them and how to mix their feed. There were 40 llamas in all, 34 adults and 6 crias. There was one special male, Jock, who was the boss of the herd. He took charge of all the females and every now and then had a spit fight with the 2 other yearling males to remind them who was the boss. Male llamas do have fangs to bite with, and if they get in a real fight, you'll see them leap up and come down on each other, biting, slashing with their hooves, trying to knock each other down, and spitting quartz at each other. But usually, the lead male only has to let loose a couple of pints of spit at the other males to let them know he's still in charge. Since female llamas don't have upper teeth, their number one defense is to spit. And when a llama spits at you, you can consider yourself, in no uncertain terms, spit upon. They can reach right down into their stomachs to spit, unlike people who use only their throats. So, in a sense, llamas are pretty well defended. They can sense intruders at a distance, and they will instinctively aim for an attacker's face to spit at it in order to blind him. On the other hand, if a llama senses an approaching attacker, but is trapped in a fenced pasture, he can't get away, and a llama under attack by more than one creature is pretty helpless. 2 medium-sized dogs can pull down a full-grown llama. That was why Dr. Erickson had the whole place hog-wired. Supposedly, we also learned how to halter a llama, if you want to count it that way. What actually happened was that Jack got his arms round Tick-Tock's neck, and she bucked him all over the barnyard for about 10 minutes. Then, when she was exhausted and wanted a drink, I got the harness around her nose, and Jack fastened it before she could buck again. If we were taller and heavier, we could do it, Jack said, but I can hardly reach her nose unless she keeps her head down. Look, 2 of us ought to be smarter than 1 of her, I told him. Size has nothing to do with it. Even the trainer's manual says that. Well, I wish Tick-Tock could read the manual then. But at the challenge in my words, he came up to Tick-Tock again and got his arms around her neck to get her halter off. We were in the barnyard. Tick-Tock had been nibbling up some spilled grain. She took one look at Jack and started jumping again, taking him with her. His legs swung up one way and then the other as she jumped and turned and bucked. "All I want to do is get your halter off," he yelled. She must think it's a game, I called as I chased them around, trying to get away to jump in and grab her around the neck on the other side. Sure, it's a game. Kill the kid, Jack yelled. Would you do something? But Tick-Tock turned away and jumped. I saw Jack's legs swing out past her. He tried to get his footing to brace himself. Penny, he called. I shut my eyes and jumped in. Tick-Tock snorted indignantly, as though she thought I was cheating. Quick, the buckle's on your side, I said. A second later, the halter came off. Tick-Tock stopped and stood stock still. She does think it's a game, Jack exclaimed. We let the tired llama go back to the pasture. Boy, Jack said, I'm glad Doc gets the grant just for teaching us, because if it depended on how much we learned, I'm not sure he'd get enough to cover postage. Of course, along with the fun stuff, we also learned to pick up rocks in the pasture, scrape paint on the outside of the bunkhouse, and weed the garden in front of the house. In fact, most of what we did was just plain old work, but it was nice to have Jack there to talk to. On our second Saturday, we hurried to get the chores done early so that we could leave for home right after church. Now, you two be sure to bring Scruggs with you next Friday, Mrs. Erickson said as we sat down to eat. We certainly can use him. Sure, Jack exclaimed. I only nodded. And your sister Jean, too, Doc Erickson added. Jack hesitated, looking glum, and I said, she's not back from Alabama yet. Maybe next time then, Mrs. Erickson said. Be nice to have 2 boys and 2 girls, because then nobody gets picked on and nobody gets left out. Well, it was obvious that she didn't know Jean. Jean was just born with a tendency to get picked on and left out. I sighed heavily. You two eat up, Doc Erickson told us as he stood up. I want to get the Crias out of the nursery before we leave for Peabody. The yearling males are too rough with them. We nodded and went out. A minute later, the dinner gong that hung on the porch started banging furiously. Jack and I looked at each other, and we both said, "Trouble!" at the same time before we rushed out. Mrs. Erickson followed. Look! Look! Dr. Erickson cried as we all came bursting out the door. We looked. Everything was silent. A faint breeze kicked up dust in pasture 1. Everything seems quiet, Jack said. Seems quiet? Dr. Erickson exclaimed. The llamas are gone! Gone! We ran down the steps. The gate's open, I said, and pointed to the wide pasture gate. Mrs. Erickson squinted and said, the gate to pasture 2 is open too. Dr. Erickson ran back into the house and came out with his field glasses. He used them to sweep over the pastures. All the gates are open. Quick, get in the truck. We scrambled for the pickup. Jack and I hopped into the truck bed and the Ericksons got into the front. With a mighty jerk of the gears, we took off. Whoa, the llamas are gone. That is not good, is it? Well, let's kind of look here and answer some questions about this. What kind of doctor do you think Doc is? Maybe he's a vet, a veterinarian. Sounds like he can take good care of the animals. So how does Doc Erickson make Jack and Penny's visit educational? Because remember, in order to get the grant, he had to make it an educational adventure. So he taught them about history of llamas, how to groom them, how to feed them, how to tend to them, right? What makes the llama Jock so special? He is the boss of the herd, isn't he? Yeah, that's right. Can you look back on page 37, the page where we started to read? Can you find the part where Penny describes the female llamas? Can you find that where it says since female llamas? Do you see that paragraph? When you find that paragraph, can you read that out loud? So the only defense a female llama has is to spit. They don't fight like the male llamas do they? That's right. Turn the page. Look on page 39. Can you find, let me see if I can look for it. Can you see where it says learned? There's a word learned. Where did it go? see it. There's the word learned in here somewhere. Well, anyway, the word learned has quotation marks around it, and nobody really said it. Anytime you see a word that nobody really said, it's just part of the story. It's not in the dialogue, but it has quotation marks around it. That sometimes it kind of means that it's sarcastic. We learned, hint, hint. It's kind of what that means when you see a word that has quotation marks around it. So what is the big emergency? All the gates, I don't think they were left open. It sounds like somebody may have opened them on their own. What do you think? And it's bad. It's quiet because all the llamas are gone. They've all escaped from their pastures. This is horrible. So we'll find out if they find them and what happened tomorrow. So right now, you close your reading book and take out your work text, the one that you write in. We have one page that we're going to do today, okay? And this page you're going to do all by yourself, okay? It's a page that I'm probably going to grade. So can you look on page 15 in your book? Okay, when you're up there, you should see at the very top there's a crossword puzzle. I'm going to assume that you know how to do those. Now the words to choose from are most of the words that we had for our vocabulary words. There's a little, right in the center of your page on the right hand side beside that picture of the llama with the crossword, look right to the right of it at the bottom. There's a little yellow box and those are words to choose from. And your hints are across and down and you just match the number with whether it's across or down. And you put the answer in there, okay? So go ahead and do that. And then at the bottom where it says think about it, it says to put a check beside the correct meaning of each expression used in the story. Look at number 1. If llamas get into a fight, you'll see them spitting quartz at each other. Now that was a quotation from the story. Now, let's see what that really means. Look at A. Each will spit a quart jar at the other. I don't think that's what that means. They will spit a large amount. Yeah, that's what it means. Look at the last one. They will put the spit in a quart jar. No, it's the second one. So you'll put a check mark beside 1B because that's what that means. Now, do you think you can finish this page yourself? If you have any trouble or you have any questions, you can send me a message on Google Classroom and then I'll help you with it, okay? But I'd like for you to do this all by yourself and snap a picture of it so that I can give you a grade on this page, okay? All right, that's all for today.